My wife's billionaire boss mocked me in front of 300 people, called me a burger flipper. But that night, I learned something.
The night my wife's boss mocked me in front of an entire ballroom was the night I stopped being the quiet husband. It was the night I realized humiliation doesn't destroy a man, it forges him. My name is Tony Castellano. I'm a chef. Not a burger flipper, not a manual laborer, not a recipe follower. A chef, a creator, a man who builds something real with his hands. But to Richard Ashford, the third billionaire fund manager, gold-plated ego, professional condescender, I was just entertainment. It all started at a charity dinner at the Grand Hyatt. My wife Sarah, who worked in his department, hoped the evening would be classy. Instead, it became my origin story. When Richard asked what I did, I told him, I'm the head chef at Marcello's. He smirked. So you flip burgers? His colleagues laughed. Sarah looked sick. I felt my face burn. Richard wasn't finished. I manage portfolios worth hundreds of millions. You follow recipes. No offense, Tony, but we're not exactly in the same league. Every word landed like a slap. Even worse, Sarah needed this job. She needed this promotion. So I swallowed my pride like a glass of broken glass. But deep down, a seed was planted. A slow-growing, unstoppable seed named revenge. The next weeks were surgical torture. At Sarah's office, he'd call me Chef Boy RD. He'd ask if I knew what a mutual fund was. He even told her she married beneath her ambition. She came home crying twice. She was torn to defend me and risk her job or stay quiet and watch me bleed. I understood. But I didn't forget. Then came the dinner that changed everything. Sarah invited me to a team dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. I told myself to behave. But when Richard announced loudly, I'm not sure our friend Tony understands this level of cuisine, something inside me snapped. I set down my fork and looked straight into his smug face. Cooking is art, craft, and science, I said. You wouldn't last 1 hour in a real kitchen, Richard. You think you're superior because you shuffle money, I nourish people? You manipulate numbers. The table was stunned. Sarah squeezed my leg under the table, not in warning, but in pride. I left the dinner early, calm and collected. I wasn't walking away. I was stepping back. To sharpen my knives. For weeks I gathered information. Sarah became my inside source, where he dined, when he dined, who he entertained. Meanwhile, I connected with every chef I knew in Manhattan. Restaurants are a community. A guild and one universal truth binds us. How you treat service workers tells us who you are. Richard treated them like disposable servants. So when I quietly mentioned he was a rude, arrogant problem customer, the wheels began to turn. No plans, no sabotage. Just information sharing, and kitchens remember. The first strike came during a massive client dinner at New. Kenji, the chef, texted me updates. The server spilled water on his jacket. The timing was off. A dietary restriction was lost. Soup was spilled on his suit. The investors walked away. Deal dead, that was just round one. Over the next month, it was the same everywhere. Reservations were delayed. Wine was swapped. Service was slow. Nothing illegal. Nothing traceable. Just the entire Manhattan restaurant ecosystem giving a bad customer exactly the experience he deserved. Richard's reputation tanked. The final course was at 11 Madison Park. Richard had his last chance meeting with German investors. Sarah and I booked a table in the main dining room, front row seats to destiny. We watched the chaos. Appetizers were 40 minutes late. The wine was rejected 3 times. A bottle spilled all over his $6,000 suit. The investors grew disgusted and left him alone in humiliation. He sat there, drenched in wine, staring at his failure. Justice tasted better than any dessert. Within weeks, Richard was demoted. He lost his accounts, his office, his power. Pulling an Ashford became slang for destroying your own reputation. 6 months later, at another charity dinner, a server told me someone wanted to speak with me. It was Richard. But smaller, quieter, human. Tony, I'm sorry, he said. You were right. I needed to be humbled. He shook my hand and thanked me. As he walked away, Sarah asked, Do you forgive him? I looked at her and smiled. I do, not for him. For us, she smiled back. You're dangerous, chef. I kissed her. Revenge, I whispered. is best served at exactly the right temperature. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more.